Hello everyone and welcome back to Local Liberty. This is Brian and Shane. We are continuing our college chat series where we are taking questions from Shane's American government course.
Oh yeah.
The question of the day is the war on drugs a failure and what should we replace it with? This ought to be an easy one, Shane. I think this goes back to a quote from Thomas Sowell, maybe. What do we do once the doctor finds that we have cancer in our bodies? We do not ask the doctor, hey, doc, I got this cancer, but I don't like it. I want to get rid of it. What should I replace it with? Nobody follows up that question to their doctor of, after they just found out they got cancer with, what should we replace it with? So this is a fantastic example of a problem we have right now in government. And what should it be replaced with? Absolutely nothing.
It's a government-made problem. Government-manufactured problem.
Government-manufactured disaster on epic scale and proportion.
It's so astonishing.
So I guess before we dive into all that fun, the answer to this question is the war on drugs a failure? Yes. What should it be replaced with? Nothing. Now we've covered this. We have another episode that we've gone at this several times. We can link to that. Just something else I want to add on to the mix, because I may not have stressed this enough before, is let's say you have no interest whatsoever in using any substances that the government has arbitrarily defined to be illegal. And you don't want to alter your state of mind with anything. And that's great. A lot of people are with you on that. I'm in that camp as well. I really have no interest in using any drugs that have been deemed illegal arbitrarily by our masters. I'll enjoy a beer once a month like a lot of other people will. But I am, with every ounce of my body, against the war on drugs for all sorts of reasons. And we've talked about the moral implications of locking somebody up for a victimless crime. We've talked about that at great length. That's the greatest and most important reason right there. But some more practical considerations, maybe that one doesn't ring as true with you, is think about what are the results, or what's the end result of the war on drugs to the average everyday person living their life in this country. Your likelihood of interacting with police, and that may be, on any scale from extremely negative to lukewarm, your likelihood of that being on the negative side is almost exclusively due to the war on drugs. And of course, a bunch of ridiculous traffic laws as well, but we can save that for another day.
Well, the thing is, the traffic laws are the police get their hooks in. So they pull you over because you're speeding or because you did something that who knows. Well, right? But once they pull you over, then they use the war on drugs to really screw you. Right?
Yes, pretty much. And the way that they're tied together is, well, first, you're on government property. The government they act like they own the entire country, but they very much act like they own the roads. So you're on their property, you're going to obey all of their arbitrary rules, and if you happen to disobey one of them, then all bets are off. You're pulled over, you're detained, you're effectively arrested for a temporary period. Then the fun begins, as Shane mentions, with, maybe we'll bring a dog to walk 3 circles around your car.
Which is just astonishingly ridiculous that this actually counts in court, that this is actually used. There are numerous videos you can find on YouTube on the way that the dogs are trained and how they can give false positives, how sometimes there's signals that officers can use to make the dog, give the signal, quote unquote. I mean, there's just so many breakdown points with using a dog, how unreliable this is. So it's completely absurd that you're basing your ability to search on an animal.
Right.
I love animals, right. But this is not appropriate use.
Right. And whether or not a dog sits, barks, pants, pisses, or shits, one of those categories could result in your car being searched. Yeah. And
he gave the signal. See, right. You see his tail twitch.
And then from there on, then the fun just escalates to a whole other level. So the whole aspect of private property is just so badly damaged in so many ways by the war on drugs. Forget the whole angle, we've talked about it at length, of whether or not somebody can put something in their own body according to their own discretion. just the practical problems or practical attacks, even you could say, that the war on drugs directly leads to is so profound that every single person in the United States should just be calling out and saying, okay, this is insane. We need to end this. We've talked about also the other aspect of the scale of incarcerating millions of people and what that does to the individuals and what it does to everybody else who has to pay for those individuals. The burden on the economy affects everyone. So,
and really, it's not just the burden on the economy of them being in jail, being in prison. It's what happens to them as a person while they're in prison. So while they're in prison, prison life in America isn't so great. Ignore what they say about prison life. It sucks in America. You're in maximum security prison. You're there for some drug crimes. Well, what happens when you get out of prison? Well, now you have a felony on your record, can't get a job. While you're in prison, you learn about all kinds of new hustles and tricks that you can play. So now you become much more dangerous to society. Right. Much, much worse.
Yep. So this is the war on drugs is probably the best example, I think, of intervention begets intervention ad infinitum. Intervention just goes on and on and on and on, and it starts with this fundamental insanity that you can be arrested, your life can be changed because the wrong vegetable matter is in your possession. That is wrong. That is insane on so many levels that I hope more people can detach themselves from their own personal preference angle for a little bit and just analyze this on a cause and effect angle.
That's the problem, Brian. You say you attach yourself from personal preference. That's so much of what it's about. And we were talking about this in another segment about this libertarianism as an ideal in general and different ways of looking at things. People, like one of the reasons why medical marijuana became so accepted is because people going, oh, well, they're sick, so they have a legitimate reason to do that, right? Because it fit in with their worldview of what they would do for themselves, right? Who cares what your worldview is, what you do for yourself? That doesn't come into play in what they do, right? But so it doesn't. But there's a clear distinction, like people that are for medical marijuana, people for recreational marijuana. There's a big gap, and then the gap is slowly because some people go, well, I don't think it's good, so you can't do it, right?
Right. And you don't have to admire. You don't have to think it's great. That's like. Someone says, oh, I think getting high is ridiculous. I think it's stupid. I think it's a waste of money. It's a waste of a life.
More power to you. Say that all you want.
Right. And you
tell people, advocate.
Right. And that's legit. I mean,
go ahead.
Right. Like, saying somebody, is going to be high on coke all day long and you're going to look negatively upon that. Yes, I'm with you. I agree. I don't think gorking yourself out of your mind as your main way of functioning through life, I don't think that's a good thing. But I think I'm rational enough to say that if I want to basically impose my personal preference on how others should handle themselves in that manner, that it has such drastic negative effects for me.
Right.
And I typically come down on issues on the rights-based aspect of it, not the consequentialist aspect. But there's nothing saying you can't do both. You can say it's just plain wrong to tell somebody else what to do with their body, but you can also say, once we start telling other people what to do with their bodies, that it is just a train wreck for the rest of us. You can hold both positions simultaneously, I think. So it's two strikes, two gigantic strikes.
I hold multiple positions about this simultaneously. It's bad from a policy outcome perspective. It has not stopped drug use. So it's bad from the reason it started. So the stated reason for the war on drugs is because drug use was a problem in this country. We'll ignore whether it was or not. We'll say we'll go with it. Yeah, it's a problem, right? So we need to stop it. So we start the war on drugs. That hasn't worked. That's been a miserable failure. We can go from the moral aspect. What right do you have to tell me what to do? What right do you have? I'll do what I want. If I'm leaving you alone, then leave me alone, right? And you can look at it from the consequentialist aspect. Well, if I do this to him, what is he going to do to me? Right? So this is why the war on drugs is such crazy insanity. Because there's so many reasons why it's bad. There's so many different points of view. There's so many different worldviews that aren't libertarianism, that are also against the drug war for various reasons.
Right.
Right? It's
So
such a
that-
terrible idea.
Yeah.
It's so astonishingly
So then the
stupid.
question is, okay, we've convinced everybody how terrible this is. Fantastic, good on us. Then the question is why? Why did this start? Why was this enacted? Why was it pursued? And this has been building up since the 20s or 30s maybe. And it's the incrementalism, ratchet effect of all other government programs.
Well, part of it was because one big government bureaucracy was eliminated in the early 30s, and that was all the government agents that were devoted to enforcing prohibition. So wait a sec, we have this bureaucracy in place, but we can't go off the guy's alcohol now. What do we do now?
Right. So I think for me to answer it most generically, the why for all of this is like a lot of other things. It is to increase the power and control over the people that you want to extort from, basically. And because once it's a very deep psychological shift once you've convinced somebody that they're a criminal, and you can
In this case, to make it easy for the drug war, people like Hearst, who ran like a lot of the newspapers at the time. They started bringing it up as a racial issue. So you would say, oh, who smokes marijuana? Black jazz musicians and Mexican immigrants. Oh my God, blacks and Mexicans, they're bad already. And they're doing this, so it must be bad, right? So they preyed upon that racism, and they come up with these crazy things like Reefer Madness. You ever seen that movie, Reefer Madness?
No.
Oh, you gotta see it. It is unbelievable. Apparently, if you smoke marijuana, you go and kill and rape people. That's what you do. That's the inevitable consequence,
Yeah.
Brian.
scientifically proven.
Scientifically proven.
So the why of all this madness at the end of the day is to increase control, and increasing control over people. And this is such a pervasive step. It intertwines with so many aspects of our lives that the war on anything, you could say. I don't want to say which one is better or worser war, but the war on drugs is probably the one that has the most impact on the daily lives of Americans, the most negative impact on our daily lives.
I think so. That's why it's my big issue. I mean, I think it causes massive harm. You want to make people's lives better. You want to improve things for people. Just get rid of the war on drugs, and that'll make a dramatic improvement in people's lives just from that. Even if you're not a drug user, because the war on drugs, it affects people that are in certain neighborhoods more than other neighborhoods, off minority neighborhoods and poor neighborhoods. So even if you're not a person that's using drugs, you're going to be on Pearl Street when the MRAP comes in, and when SWAT closes off the street, and everyone goes, you live on this street, oh man, you're scum, blah, blah. I mean, it's just so many negative outcomes and consequences.
And I like to look at things and say, let's say there's 100,000 ways that you can be implicated as a criminal and then harassed or imprisoned or killed. Eliminating this would just ratchet off a good chunk of them. And the more of those chunks we get rid of, the better. So there it is. Yes, it's a failure, and please replace it with nothing. That is the answer to our college chat question. I have to remember where we were going with this one at the beginning. Check out the rest of the series on Facebook and YouTube. Check us out, Local Liberty. Put it in quotes and give us a like and a subscribe if you want to hear more of these types of conversations. Thanks for listening.